We'll come into kind of a side saddle or a mermaid pose. And this is where you might need a little cushion if your knee comes off of the mat. We're just going to start to move and notice how our hips feel. Just inhaling as we come back and exhaling as we go forward. And so I too tend to hold on in the hips, and that's really common. And so this is just a way to ease into it. We're just inhaling as we go up and exhaling as we go down, and just easing in to sensation in the hips. And then we can calm down and hold, check in, really keeping our attention on how the hips feel and our breath. Continuing that extended exhale. We could walk around and explore what it feels like to kind of walk from one side to the other. Definitely going to feel more sensation walking towards that bent knee over on the side. And nice long exhales. And come back to center. And then here's where we're going to start to extend that leg into a pigeon pose. And the more we walk this back leg back, the more our hip's going to ground on the other side. If the hip does not ground on the other side, put a cushion under it. Bring the earth up to meet you so that you do have a nice grounded pose here. And you can be up, you can be down. You might want one of your cushions as a support for your head. And we're gonna hold this and notice if there is anywhere that you're holding on. And see if you could just breathe in to any areas that you're holding on to, or use your cushions to support you. So see if you can breathe into any of the areas where you're holding on, and see if using your cushions in certain places could allow you to release, and then just accept and allow however you are responding to this. Noticing where you feel sensation in your body. Noticing if there are areas that you're holding on or feeling tight, and letting that be okay. The paradox is that by accepting it and allowing it, that tends to allow it to soften up and release naturally. You're breathing into those places, relaxing into those places, and imagining creating spaciousness. Letting go on every exhale, bringing in acceptance and love with every inhale. One more exhale, and we'll straighten the arms on an inhale and come back around to seated. Maybe checking out that Apana Vayu. Apana Vayu means downward energy, and so that's the name of this mudra. It means downward energy mudra. We'll go into the side saddle or the mermaid on the other side, and if anything feels rough on your knee, give it a little cushion. And we'll just slowly start to explore in the hips. Exhaling on the way down and inhaling on the way up. Bringing your full attention into what's going on in your hips. Breathing, relaxing, just watching and really allowing and accepting yourself to be wherever you are. And then when you're ready, we'll start to straighten that knee. And the more we walk it back, the more we're going to ground the hip. If the hip doesn't ground, bring the earth up to meet that. When you're ready to come down, you might enjoy using some of your cushions to support yourself. And relaxing here. And just noticing how you feel on this side. And notice if there are any emotional qualities to the sensation. Sometimes sensations in the body might have an emotional quality. Just notice if that's present for you today. And just try to relax around any sensations that you notice. And breathe in a really relaxed way into sensations. Noticing if there are any areas that feel tight or constricted, and allowing that and accepting that and sending love and breath and space that way. And then notice if there are. So notice where there are definitely places in your body that feel unrestricted, open and free. Could be your toes, your nose, your knees, your biceps, your hands. Notice all of the areas within your body that feel unrestricted, free, neutral. Imagine breathing those sensations of freedom into any areas that might feel restricted or tight. So imagine taking those feelings of freedom and mixing them in, breathing them in to any areas that need a little extra release and freedom and space. One more exhale, take your time, and we'll push up on an inhale and actually just slide our knee back to meet the other knee. Move any of the cushions and have your strap handy. Have your strap handy. You might need it. I don't know. Come all the way down. And so we're going to release the front of the hip in the quad and the psoas. You can grab your leg or your foot and pull the heel towards your glutes. And if that's not available for you, just take your strap. You can put it around your foot or your ankle, and you can use that strap to get that heel towards the glute. We're stretching the front of the hip stretching the quad, the psoas, and to get a little extra sensation, find the hip crest in the front of your hip and press that hip crest down into the earth. Notice if there's anywhere you can relax. Definitely relaxing the face, neck, jaw, shoulders, teeth, upper and lower teeth never touch. And release. And then you're going to do the other side using your hand or your strap to bring the heel towards the glute. Finding that bony hip crest on the front of your hip and pressing that downward unless that's too much sensation. Finding the perfect amount of sensation for yourself. Not too much, not too little. Make sure you're breathing, extending your exhales, and relaxing wherever you can. Always noticing if there's anywhere you're tightening or tensing, and just allowing those areas to relax. Always noticing your breath. Slowing down your breath. And relax and release. You can come up into a little sphinx or an up dog. Come back down. Draw your hands back towards either side of your chest. Engage your core. Push yourself up and sit back on your heels in a child's pose. Stretching out the low back. Nice deep breaths. Now we're going to lie on our backs. Have your strap handy, coming onto your back and placing the strap over the ball of the foot. Straightening the leg as best you can. You can extend the other leg. And we'll go into the hamstring. If you ever get sciatic pain in the hip area, hamstring stretches are really great to help with that. So feeling a sensation along the back of the leg. This hamstring has such an effect on the hips and the low back. Really finding a nice sensation on the back of that leg. And then we're going to hold, I've got the strap around my right leg, so I'm going to hold the right hip down and just bring the leg over a little bit. I'm not going into a low back twist at all. I'm keeping my low back and the back of my glute down so the leg doesn't go very far. And so I'm looking for a stretch along the side of the outer thigh, the IT band that attaches my hip to my knee. So this is really great for the knee and the hip. And make sure your upper and lower teeth are not touching. Relax your face, your jaw, your neck, and your shoulders. And come back into sensation on the back of the leg. And then open it up, going into the inner thigh. So you're going into the inner thigh, all of this attached to the hip. Relaxing where you can, breathing, extending the exhales, and coming back into the hamstring stretch. And we'll just slip the other foot into the strap and go into finding sensation on the back of the leg. Shoulders down and back, upper and lower teeth never touch. Softening around the eyes, along the cheekbone and inside the mouth. So finding the perfect amount of sensation on the back of the leg, not too much, not too little. Again, if you ever get low back pain or sciatic in the hip, these are a go-to. Now I happen to have the strap on my left foot, so I'm going to keep my left hip and glute anchored so that leg doesn't come very far across. But for me, it is a very intense sensation on the side, outer thigh area, the IT band. So if your IT band is tight and you're feeling a lot of sensation, make sure that you keep the upper body relaxed. So we're stretching the IT band, helping out our knee and our hip, but we're also noticing what happens to our breath and our upper body if we encounter tension. So we're building the habit of noticing, oh, there's no reason to stop my breath. There's no reason to tighten up my jaw or my neck or my shoulders. And simply by noticing, I can choose to relax. So actually, whenever we do a pose that creates a trigger or a stress response, we're learning to react differently. So we're going to come back and the hips, I'm coming back into hamstring stretch. The hips trigger a stress response for a lot of people, both physically and emotionally. So we're going to open out into the inner groin, the inner thigh that's connected to the hip. Nice deep breaths. Just the right amount of sensation. And come back into your hamstring stretch. And release. Just take a moment to pause. Notice how you feel. Check in with your breath. Notice if there's anywhere you can relax. Notice what it feels like to step back and be an observer, just watching and allowing, really allowing yourself to just be and accepting yourself exactly as you are. So one of the most effective hip stretch for me, because I've had low back and hip issues, is just a tight cross. So I'm just doing a really tight cross with my thighs. And then if you have knee issues, you want to grab underneath the knees. I'm going to grab in front of the knees for a deeper stretch. If you ever have sciatic pain, this is fantastic. It's going to directly stretch the piriformis, a very deep glute muscle. And so I'm pulling the knees towards the chest, relaxing the face, jaw, neck, and shoulders. Nice deep breaths. One more exhale, and then there's the figure four, which most of us are familiar with. The trick to that is flexing your feet for knee safety, but bringing that knee towards its shoulder. That's what's going to give you a really nice stretch. Bringing the knee towards the shoulder and pressing the other knee away. And then we'll do the other side. So I'm going to do a really tight cross and draw the knees to the chest. Noticing sensation. Noticing your breath. Noticing where you can relax. And then when you're ready, figure four, and flexing the feet and hands behind the thigh, and you're drawing that knee towards its shoulder and pressing the other knee out. Upper and lower teeth never touch. Really softening and relaxing. And releasing, feet flat on the mat, arms out in big T. And we'll just do gentle twisting from side to side, letting your knees fall from side to side. And you might look to the opposite side. So knees going one way and your gaze going the other way. And back to center. Here's where you might need your 2 cushions. You may or may not. Let the knees fall out to the sides in a diamond. Feet, soles of the feet together. And if it feels better, you could support your outer thighs with a cushion. I don't need the cushion when I'm doing the prone pigeon, but I do need them when I do this. I think that my the inner groin, inner thigh is a little tighter. So we're all different, and I don't think that I can relax without the cushions. So we do want to relax, be able to relax. And this is not only good for the hips, the inner groin, which are affecting the low back. This is great for anti-anxiety and for the pelvic floor. So the pelvic floor health is something we don't talk a lot about, but it's really important. And so relax your pelvic floor here. Relax your inner groin, your hips. Relax your low back. And always making sure we're relaxing in the face, the jaw, the neck, and the shoulders. If your mind wanders, notice that it did, and then come back to what's happening within your body and come back to your breath. And that's such an important practice. If the more we practice this, and then we'll notice in our daily life, our mind might have had a habit of going into worry or anger or control or some emotionally disturbing thought pattern. But we've been practicing noticing and saying, I'm going to choose to come back into the present moment, back to my true self, my higher power. And so coming back to the body and the breath is a way to come back to our heart, our true self, our spiritual beliefs, the present moment, where all is well. So it's really important to notice if the mind wanders, even if it's just on something silly. We're building a practice for some thought habits that aren't silly, that can be really detrimental. We notice when the thoughts wander, and we just come back to what's going on in the body, what's going on in the breath, back to the present moment.